There was a massive law enforcement response.
Pray for us. I am locked in an office.
Large armed response here.
We don't know where those shooters are.
Up to 3 people had entered the building and had opened fire.
They are heavily armed, wearing body armor.
Upwards of 14 people that are dead.
They seen bodies on the floor.
Right now, we do not know if this is a terrorist incident.
And all of a sudden, I got into chaos. It was just boom, 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 boom. It's crazy. There's just too many shootings.
Tragedy in San Bernardino today when gunmen opened fire on a social services facility, killing more than a dozen people.
Yeah, here is what we know so far about that attack. At least 14 people were killed by as many as 3 gunmen. 17 others have been reported injured in that attack. Police now say 1 suspect has been shot in a gun battle with officers, but 1 other suspect still may be outstanding right now.
We have team coverage on this mass shooting investigation. Eyewitness News reporter Adam Herbert has been in San Bernardino all day. He has the latest on the tragedy.
And Jose Gaspar has more on how the shooting has affected us here in Kern County, and Carol Ferguson looks at how shootings affect recent gun sale trends.
But first, let's start with Adam Herbert for the very latest on what's happening right now in San Bernardino. Adam, can you take us?
Yeah, good evening, Tom, Rochelle. You can see behind me there are loads of cameras just standing by waiting for the police chief to deliver a statement. That statement was supposed to be at 4:45, so we're still waiting on him. They're getting all their ducks in a row before they give us the most recent information. But let me tell you what they told us at their last briefing. They've been giving us information at the top of the hour, every hour, since about noon today. And what we do know from our last talk with the police is that they have shot at least 1 gunman, or 1 suspect rather, that may have been involved in this shooting. It happened at the Inland Regional Center about 10:59 a.m. here on Waterman, and they're still not even telling us exactly how many gunmen they think are involved in the shooting. We've heard up to 3, anywhere from 1 to 3 gunmen inside that building, and we do know that at least 1 of those people, either 1 or 2 people, have been shot by the police. We also know an officer has been hit by return gunfire. We're told that man is expected to be okay. Now let's talk about victims. There's a lot of them. At least 28 people hit, 14 dead, 14 injured. From the last numbers we've heard, that number has been going up and changing as we know it. And they think that this all started, and the chase for these suspects all started when they escaped from that facility into a black SUV, perhaps a GMC Yukon. And that's what we saw just a few hours ago, surrounded by police and SWAT and FBI and every other agency that's been out here trying to find whoever was inside that SUV and get them out of there. From what we saw, the passenger side window and the driver's side window were shot out or broken for some reason. And we still have no idea exactly who was in there, if when they went in there they found somebody shot, dead, or alive inside that SUV. We're waiting on some information. We were told this press conference was supposed to start at 4:45 p.m. and we're still waiting for them behind me. We have a camera back there. We're going to try and get you a live broadcast of that press conference when it starts. And again, before we get to that, let's talk about some of the victims again. We have talked to people throughout the day that are scared. It's a frantic scene. Many of them have been worried for hours, waiting for their loved ones to come out of there. They've been waiting to reunite with their loved ones, and some are still waiting to hear back from them. Let's take a listen.
Just praying that maybe she had a call outside the building. That's what I'm hoping for, because my daughter and I are very close. So that's what worries me is she would have called me if she could. She loves little kids, and her heart goes out to these kids. So I don't know why anybody would come in and shoot them.
That first woman you heard from, she had 2 loved ones inside of that building. The second person, that's a witness who described hearing gunshots when this all started at 10:59 a.m. Again, we're standing by waiting for this press conference to start. In the meantime, let me give you another update on the people injured and hurt in this shooting. The latest number we have, let me excuse myself from what I said before, it's now 14 dead and at least 17 injured. That's the latest number from here. We're going to be sticking by here throughout the day and throughout the night into the morning. This is going to be an all-nighter indicator for police. Even if they do have all of their suspects, they're going to be inside that building, perhaps possibly detonating some explosive devices that could have been left behind. There is a bomb squad on scene as well, and they're being very careful with that. And then investigators, whether they have all their suspects or not, are going to have to go into that building, look at any evidence that is inside there, perhaps if there are gunmen still alive, to help them out with the prosecution of this case. From last we heard, we're not even sure if that building is completely secured or evacuated. That's what we heard about 4 o'clock. It may be done by now, and again, we're just waiting to get the latest information from the police chief. We're live in San Bernardino. We'll stay with you throughout the broadcast and into the night. Adam Herbets, Eyewitness News. Tom, Rochelle, we'll throw it back to you.
All right, Adam, thank you. Excuse me. Again, that shooting happened at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino.
That facility provides services to more than 30,000 people with disabilities and special needs. It employs more than 600 people as well, so you can just tell how big of an endeavor this was. The center's president and CEO says the facility has 2 buildings and they do require a badge to get in. However, they say the conference room where that shooting happened is usually left open when events are taking place, including the banquet that was being held there today. And just a few hours after the deadly shootings in San Bernardino, the State Department of Developmental Services ordered that all regional centers be shut down as a precautionary measure. And that includes Kern Regional Center here in Bakersfield. Eyewitness News reporter Jose Gaspar is live at Kern Regional Center with reaction there from today's tragedy. Jose?
Rochelle, as you might imagine, employees here at Kern Regional Center are pretty upset about what happened down in San Bernardino. Some of them here personally know their colleagues who work at that regional center. So, as a precautionary measure, the state ordered the shutdown of all regional centers around California earlier today. Employees at Kern Regional Center were told to go home at around 1:30. That order came from the State Department of Developmental Services.
In the interest of the safety of our employees, we have sent everybody in all 7 of our offices home for the afternoon and advised them to return to work tomorrow morning.
You know, nerve-wracking. I think we're all shaking.
Karina Profer is a supervisor at Kern Regional Center. In her 18 years working here, this is the first time employees have been sent home. She says her co-workers were visibly shaken by the tragedy in San Bernardino.
Scared and sad because those are our brothers and sisters, you know. There's only 21 regional centers in the state of California, and we are a very close-knit family.
There are more questions than answers right now, but nobody wants to take any chances that something like what happened in San Bernardino could also happen elsewhere.
This is a regional center as well, so you know, you don't know the mindset of whoever did it. Are they attacking the regional centers? We don't know. I mean, so the best thing to do is for us to close and come back another day, you know, until things get sorted out.
And while we want to believe that it's foolish to try and live in fear, we did have concerned employees who, frankly, were not getting a lot of work done, so we asked them to go home.
The tragedy at the Inland Regional Center is especially difficult for David Reister, who once worked there as the director.
I worked there for 12 years.
When you heard about what happened, being that you're familiar with it, what were your thoughts?
Frankly, I wept for my colleagues.
It's been a rough day for everyone in all regional centers around the state. The plan is for the regional centers to reopen tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Reporting live from the Kern Regional Center in Bakersfield, Jose Gaspar. Now back to you in the studio.
Jose, thank you. President Obama speaking about the shooting tonight. Christine Frizzell is on Capitol Hill with more on his reaction to today's tragedy.
President Obama has already been briefed on this situation by a Homeland Security advisor and will be kept up to date on the situation. It will be several hours and perhaps even days before all the pieces of this are put together. But we're told both the FBI and ATF agents were on the scene, as well as a bomb squad. President Obama did give his reaction to this in an interview with CBS News.
My hope is that we're able to contain this particular shooting, and we don't yet know what the motives of the shooters are. But what we do know is that there are steps we can take to make Americans safer.
Meanwhile, lawmakers on Capitol Hill have been following the news as well, and were quick to offer their condolences.
My thoughts and prayers go out to the family of those who lost someone in this shooting and to those that are injured.
There have been so many condolences offered for so many shootings. I can only imagine what the victims have gone through, what their families are enduring right now.
In the immediate aftermath of a shooting, it's not unusual for there to be some confusion about exactly what happened. So let's wait and get the facts and see what actually did happen, and then we can make a more reasoned approach to what needs to happen going forward.
Certainly a lot of emotion over this tragic incident in San Bernardino. And here in Washington, with clashing viewpoints over the issue of gun control, we expect the debate will be reignited. In Capitol Hill, I'm Christine Frizzell. And Governor Jerry Brown also responding to today's shooting. In a statement released earlier today, he says, quote, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, families, and everyone affected by the brutal attack. California will spare no effort in bringing these killers to justice." The governor was also supposed to light the Capitol tree today. He canceled that. And Governor Brown also called for Capitol flags to be lowered to have staff and honor the victims and their families.
As the shootings happened in San Bernardino, reports were just out on the record number of gun sales last week. Eyewitness News reporter Carol Ferguson asked why, and did we see the same trend here? Carol?
On Black Friday, the FBI says they did more gun sale background checks than on any other day on record. We were starting to work on that story just as the shooting happened. It was pretty busy in Second Amendment sports. Customers use the shooting range. It's a few days after Black Friday. On that day,
we saw upwards of about 4 times as many firearm sales on Black Friday as on a typical day.
Manager Alex Talley says some days have been even busier. Why are people buying guns?
With the elections coming up next year, there's just a shooting in Colorado, and then all the things going on over there in the Middle East.
The world climate, he says, and we were talking before news of the shooting in San Bernardino. The next gun shop we checked.
As you came out here and walked in the building, we got the news of the shooting down in San Bernardino, so that's going to make things off the hook.
Bear Mountain sports owner Gene Thomé also says Black Friday sales were up. Again, why?
People who come in here are kind of scared.
He says buyers look for protection, worried about those world conditions, and
some of it has to do with just local gangbangers in the neighborhood and home invasions in the daytime.
Second Amendment says handgun sales are up.
We've got a lot of pink and purple guns out there.
Women are buying more guns. Thomé agrees.
We're in the business to protect people, help people protect themselves.
Do more guns mean the potential for more violence? Thomé says no.
People that don't own a gun are defenseless, and the criminals or the wackos that are going to go out and do this thing, they're going to do it whether the gun's illegal or not.
California has a state background check system. However, across the country, the FBI says their system processed 185,000 gun sale background checks on Black Friday, and that's up 5% from the year before, breaking a record set 3 years ago. Back to you.
All right, Carol, thank you so much. Of course, we're still keeping an eye on that press conference on the mass shooting in San Bernardino.
Yeah, right now we're waiting for the chief of police to give us the latest information. Again, what we know so far, 14 people dead, 17 people injured, at least one of the gunmen shot. We don't know the current situation as far as his condition goes, but there may be more gunmen on the loose. That is what we're waiting to hear at this hour. Again, stick with us here on Eyewitness News for the very latest.
Welcome back. We continue with our coverage of the mass shooting in San Bernardino. We want to go back out live to this press conference that has just started. We are expecting to hear from the San Bernardino police chief, and we also have a hospital official speaking right now.
I can tell you she just told us she has 5 people at her hospital, 2 critical, 1 stable, 1 fair, and 1 still being assessed. Let's go out live. We can hear her explain the rest.
There was a bomb threat that was credible, and we looked into it. We went through our established protocols. We worked with security and law enforcement to determine that the threat was indeed not credible and that our campus was safe.
Brianna, the victim has confirmed to ABC News that their daughter received a lot of gunshot wounds and she is in surgery here at the hospital. Can you confirm that there is a young woman here who was attending a luncheon?
I can confirm that there are 5 adult patients that were brought to the hospital today from the incidents of the day. I cannot comment on any types of the injuries.
Have families been able to be reunited with anyone? Has there been any reunions here?
We had a station set up for the families of those victims where they could stay together and be strong for one another.
Is there a police officer here as a patient?
I cannot confirm if there is a police officer here.
Are you expecting more patients?
As of right now, we do not have, we're not on alert for any other patients from the incidents of today.
How are those 5 people doing? Some patients inside the hospital said that there are armed security. Is that correct? Was there?
During the course of the bomb threat, there was heightened security. Armed security. There was law enforcement all around campus. So, yes, they were armed. We remain on heightened alert, just as a precaution to ensure the safety of our patients and staff.
Tell us about the protocol. What was going on?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Family members like those that have how they get
The families of the victims have been notified and they've been directed where to go.
Brianna, why can't you confirm that a police officer was brought here?
I can't determine where any of the patients came from, whether or not they were law enforcement or not.
Brianna, are some of your patients well enough yet to share what they know with law enforcement?
Well, 2 of the victims are, I'm sorry, let me refer to my notes on the conditions. We have 2 critical but stable, 2 are in fair, and 1 is still being assessed.
So have the fair been able to speak with law enforcement and share information?
I am not aware of whether or not they've spoken with law enforcement or not.
What's the gender of these patients? Are these male, female?
No, 5 adult patients.
Where did everybody else go?
As far as hospitals, I would imagine that there are a couple other hospitals in the area. I can't comment on what other hospitals were involved.
When the call came in, what was the mood inside the hospital? How were you prepared to handle this mass casualty?
As the only level 1 trauma center in the Inland Empire, we are always fully staffed and equipped with ample staff, surgeons and nurses and intensive care teams to handle mass casualty incidents of this nature. We're always prepared to handle the worst of the worst injuries, like today, just like any other day. I can't recall completely. I want to say it was over the course of a couple hours, but I can't say, I can't give a definitive answer.
Do you have when the last patient came in?
No, I don't.
Do you have additional medical staff right now at the hospital, doctors, nurses? Do you know how many?
I do know that additional staff was brought in. I don't know the number or what positions. I don't know, I'm sorry.
Any comment from doctors about how things were handled today? Did they have anything to say about what a day it was?
I have not communicated with any of the medical staff. Obviously, they've been very busy doing their job, taking care of these patients, and that's what they're dedicated to do, to make sure that these patients are able to leave here to return home with their families very soon.
And Brianna, where do we go?
All right, and you've been listening live. That was one of the hospital staff members, spokespeople, talking about the number of patients they have from the San Bernardino shooting today. Again, they have 5, 2 in critical, 2 in fair, 1 still being assessed at this point in time. But that's at a different location from where Adam is currently stationed, waiting to hear that press conference from the chief of police there in San Bernardino.
And 5 people just at that hospital. You heard one of the reporters ask the question, where'd everybody else go? Because those 5 people, that's just a fraction of the 17 people wounded, 14 people killed, and just a little bit of the scope of everything that happened today. So as more updates continue, we will obviously go out to them as soon as they become available.
Let's turn things right now over to Miles. He has a look at our forecast.
Yeah, now for something a little bit different.
All right, Miles, thank you so much. Of course, we are going to step aside and take a quick commercial break. And coming up, the United States takes an aggressive approach in the fight against ISIS, the special ops troops ready to make an impact in Syria.
And talks over global warming are heating up. Why President Obama's climate change plan is getting an ice-cold response in the U.S. A known gang member charged with the shooting deaths of 2 men at a medical marijuana dispensary will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Aaron Patrick Burris was sentenced this morning to multiple life terms without the possibility of parole. Eyewitness News reporter Hannah Battah has the victim's family's reaction to his sentence. Hannah?
In July 2013, Burris gunned down 2 men with his accomplice, 17-year-old Miracle Jackson. This all happened while they were robbing a marijuana dispensary. This morning, the families of the victims, Devin Daniels and Tony Sherman, addressed Burris in court.
3 little girls I have to look in the face almost on a daily basis and have them ask me, Auntie, why did he do that? Is he going to go to jail for a long time? Is he going to ever get out? Do I have to look at him? And I tell them no.
With heavy hearts, families of the 2 victims gunned down by Burris spoke in court.
Mr. Burris, you are sentenced to the Department of Corrections for the term prescribed by law of life without the possibility of parole.
The 34-year-old pleaded guilty to murder and other felony counts earlier this year. His defense attorney says he waived his appeals to avoid capital punishment.
He has to do consecutive life terms without parole.
How many would that be, sir?
It depends how long he lives. There is no possibility for him to be released. He waived his appeals in order to avoid California's death penalty.
Emotions ran high in the courtroom as a friend of Burris's spoke on his behalf, saying he wasn't, quote, in the right state of mind and is remorseful about what happened. The mother of one of the victims tells Eyewitness News she's satisfied with the ruling.
His spirit is up there with his grandpa, and he looks down on us every day. I'm very happy. I'm not very sad, but I'm going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
Burris agreed to meet with one of the victims' families before today's sentencing as part of his plea deal. Burris's accomplice, Miracle Jackson, agreed to a plea deal in exchange for testifying against Burris. Jackson is serving her time at a juvenile facility.
Hannah, thank you. Bakersfield police arrested a man for charges of mail theft today. He's been identified as 19-year-old Blake Reed. Officers arrived at the 2900 block of Cedarwood Street for reports of a suspect taking mail from mailboxes and a package from a front porch. Police say before they arrived, the suspect left the area in a vehicle, which officers found a short distance away. Reed was arrested for multiple charges, including mail theft, identity theft, possession of forged checks, and stolen credit cards. Police say he was also in possession of mailbox keys used for opening larger package areas of community mailboxes. Reed has also been arrested a number of times in the past months for similar crimes. His bail was set to $250,000. Anyone with other information should call police. The U.S. is joining in on the fight against ISIS, sending a new team of special operations troops to Iraq. Charlie D'Agata has the latest.
The United States is about to take the fight to ISIS on the ground. The Pentagon has announced that about 200 special operations forces will be deployed to the northern Iraqi city of Erbil. From there, they will conduct raids in both Iraq and Syria. Defense Secretary Ash Carter told Congress the new forces will help gather intelligence and hunt down ISIS leaders.
This is an important capability because it takes advantage of what we're good at, and it puts everybody on notice.
In a bid to save face and aimed at the Iraqis themselves, Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi said his forces were capable of defeating ISIS without the help of foreign combat troops. Secretary of State John Kerry said the Iraqis were fully briefed.
We will continue to work very, very closely with our Iraqi partners on exactly who would be deployed, where they would be deployed.
The Iraqi military appears poised to face a critical test, the take-back of the city of Ramadi. TV announcements have warned civilians in Ramadi to evacuate their homes immediately, while ISIS militants are reportedly threatening to kill anybody who tries. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News.
Again, we're following the shooting in San Bernardino where 14 people were killed, 17 others are injured.
And earlier in the hour, we heard an update from one hospital official. Now let's check in and hear more.
Sheriff John McMahon, MC MAHON. And then you have the Assistant Director LA FBI office, David Bowditch. B-O-W-D-I-C-H.
B-O-W what?
D-I-C-H.
And who's he?
The Assistant Director from FBI, Los Angeles.
How high are you going to go?
All right, so we're obviously waiting for this press conference to start. We're just moments away from it. We thought it was about to start. Now we're going to wait just a few more moments. But again, this is the situation out in San Bernardino where 17 people were hurt, 14 people were killed. This all started around 11 a.m. this morning at a special care facility in San Bernardino. And so we are awaiting information on more of the victims. We heard a hospital spokeswoman give us an update on 5 of the victims about 15 minutes ago, but that is just a small fraction of the number of people that were involved today. We're waiting on the status of the suspects. We've heard reports of anywhere between 1 to 3 gunmen involved in this, and quite frankly, we're also just waiting on the status of everybody else involved. The department, there's also been reports of a police officer that was shot as well.
Yeah, that police officer said to be doing okay, however, will recover from his injuries. This all started just after 11 o'clock today at the Inland Regional Center, which is about 60 miles east of Los Angeles in San Bernardino, if you're not familiar with that area. According to what we're hearing from spokespeople from that regional center, this was all having a banquet, a holiday banquet, when 1 to 3 gunmen came in and started firing. That sent people running and hiding, as you can imagine. This is a huge facility. It employs over 600 people, so this was a massive response from police as well. We heard some witnesses say as soon as the shooting happened, boom, they saw almost 150 police cars racing in. There's a SWAT video, as you can see right there, some of the officers running to the scene, and then just a massive triage unit too that had to be set up because they didn't know the extent of the casualties at that point. So they were taking every single precaution. There's a golf course right across the street, so they were having helicopters land on that golf course. You can kind of get a lay of the land from this aerial video. But they were having those helicopters land and taking the more seriously injured people to the hospitals nearby so they could get treated immediately. At one point in time, we even saw a civilian truck carrying people who were injured out of the facility, out of harm's way, to get them closer to the police unit. So you could just kind of see how chaotic it was at this point in time. And right now we're kind of waiting to hear if there is still possibly an investigation going or a search going for more gunmen. We know that there is one person, what they're saying, a suspect who was shot. They say he was down, but we don't know exactly what that means, his status. So that's why we're really waiting to hear from the San Bernardino Police Department as to where this investigation stands. Again, 17 people injured, 14 people dead. And then, of course, in the whole shootout, as you can see, video right here, this is the shootout where they were approaching that dark-colored SUV. You had one police officer injured. That police officer, though, said to be okay.
And this is something that really developed over a couple of hours as well. This video that you're seeing right now happened probably around 3:15, 3:30-ish as they worked to get the potential suspect in custody. It was this big SWAT standoff. And we're still waiting to hear from the sheriff. We're still waiting to hear from a police official as well. There were, again, reports that a police officer was shot. These are videos from earlier during this morning, actually, right around 11 o'clock, right around noon, just as the events began to unfold at this Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino. So we continue to wait for this press conference to start, and we just want to continue to show you these images. We also have reporter Adam Hurwitz. He is live at this press conference as well, so we will be able to get a live report from him as soon as that happens.
We are going to keep a close eye on this, and you betcha we will bring you the very latest as soon as that press conference begins. But right for now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Just in, 2 suspects in the San Bernardino mass shooting are dead. 1 male, 1 female. Let's listen into the latest.
Kind of assault-style clothing, I think is probably the best way to term it. They are both armed with assault rifles. They are both armed with handguns, and there's also kind of some sensitive stuff around the vehicle that they're just not real sure. They're taking a very cautious approach to dealing with the vehicle in case there's more explosives there. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave Bowditch with the FBI to talk about some parts of the investigation.
Thank you, Chief. So first off, my name is David Bowditch. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI here in the Los Angeles field office. B-O-W-D-I-C-H. First off, we want to extend our true sadness to the families of the victims. There are many, many victims who were involved here. Some are obviously deceased. Others are wounded and being treated as we speak. This is truly a tragedy in our country, and we will continue to apply all the resources necessary to assure that both us, the Sheriff's Department, the San Bernardino Police Department, as well as the ATF work this thing together to assure that we have chased down every lead to solve this case. Secondly, we are bringing in FBI resources. We have agents on a house in Redlands, California right now. That house, as we know, we do not know the contents of what's in that house, but previous active shooter incidents have shown us that there are times when devices are left behind. We do not have any indications there are devices to my knowledge, but we certainly are going to proceed very cautiously into that house to preserve life and limb of our employees. We're bringing evidence response teams in to work hand in hand with our state and local partners on the officer-involved shooting scenes, as well as the scene here where we have multiple victims, as well as the house. We will continue to go down this road. This is a marathon, not a sprint. I know one of the big questions that will come up repeatedly is this terrorism? And I am still not willing to say that we know that for sure. We are definitely making some movements that it is a possibility. We are making some adjustments to our investigation. It is a possibility, but we don't know that yet. And we're not willing to go down that road yet.
David, the relationship between the two dead suspects?
Unknown at this point.
How old approximately are they?
I do not even know that.
What about the third suspect? There was talk of a third suspect.
There is a third suspect, and I don't know the disposition of that suspect. I would defer to that question to the chief. What I will tell you on any indications of terrorism or this investigation, and I've told a few of you already, we will go where the evidence takes us. Now, it's possible it goes down that road. It's also possible it does not. We're just not sure yet, and when we are fairly sure, we will let you know.
David, do you have a motive for this?
Possibly terrorism.
There are a number of potential, and there's a few potential things, but we just don't know, and I'm not willing to go down that road. This is a very fluid, active investigation. We are still gathering facts. All the heads of agencies that we have here, we are still gathering some of these facts ourselves, because this scene is strewn throughout the city and into another city, and it's incredibly fluid, and that's just the way these things. We'll get there when we get there.
Chief, do you have any information about the identity of the third suspect, description, age, anything?
So I should have included that in my when I talked a moment ago. So as I said, we had an officer-involved shooting on Samuel Avenue between Mountain View and Richardson. There were two people in the vehicle. Both of those people are deceased. There was a third person that was seen running away. We do not know if they were involved. We have that person detained. I don't have any information on who that person is yet, and we certainly do not know if they were involved. It's possible that they were not. In addition to that, and the reason we put things out on social media that we asked for people to shelter in place in those neighborhoods is because there were some folks that called in and had reported that they heard somebody jumping fences, and they reported some of that activity in the neighborhood. We don't know if that was possibly responding officers, but we took a cautious approach. We locked down the neighborhood. We asked people to shelter in place, and we searched that neighborhood extensively. As of a couple minutes ago, we just got word that that search has been wrapped up. No additional folks have been contacted or seen there, so we feel that that area is safe and we can lift that shelter in place order there.
Chief, do you have a motive yet, and why this location?
We do not have a motive.
Approximate age of the suspect?
We do not. I do not have that right now. I do not. Keep in mind that I said that there were some things that were causing the officers to take a very, very cautious approach in approaching those suspects. And so we just are not that far into the investigation yet.
The nationality of the suspect. Is that possible?
I'm sorry?
Possibility these suspects might have had suicide vests or something similar?
I don't know. I have not heard suicide vests, no.
Do you believe that this whole situation is all clear, that people are safe, or there's still more shooters potentially out there?
We feel confident about the neighborhood where the officer-involved shooting took place, that we have secured that, and there's nobody outstanding there. We're reasonably confident on that. On the broader scale of the investigation, as I said early on, we had information that there were potentially 3 shooters. We are still at a point where we are tracking down that information. We are going to try to continue to identify if there was a 3rd person involved, or potentially even more people that might have been involved in the planning. But we're still pretty early on that part of the investigation.
Chief, there have been a number of reports about a holiday party at the regional.
I can't listen to all of them.
Chief, there's a report out that at the holiday party, somebody left angrily, went out, came back with 2 other people, guns, and started firing. Any truth to that?
So I have heard that they were in a meeting or a holiday party type event at the Inland Regional Center. Somebody did leave, but we have no idea if that is the person that came back.
Oh, so that's a possibility then?
Somebody did leave. There was some type of dispute or something when somebody left that party, but we have no idea if those are the people that came back.
Chief, do we have any idea what kind of weapons were recovered at the point of the shootout? You said long guns initially.
They were assault style weapons.
Semi-automatic rifles, AK series, AR?
Yeah, that type of weapon, yes.
Are there explosives, sir, near that black SUV currently?
There was a report that they potentially threw what was identified as a pipe bomb. I think we've rendered that device safe. It was not an explosive. I think we're still working on the vehicle and making sure that that is safe.
Can you give us anything on description of these suspects, their appearance or ethnicity, anything, age?
Just the way that it was described to me is, and I said this in the first press conference, they came dressed and equipped, and I think the people that we have at the scene that are deceased are dressed in that way. They're dressed in dark kind of tactical gear, I think is the best way I'll put it.
Ethnicity, anything like that? Do you have any information
I don't know.
on that?
I don't know.
So since you served a search warrant, is it your understanding that they...
I didn't say we served a search warrant.
Okay. We understand you served a search warrant, some were being told. So is it your understanding that they were holed up in the general area then the whole time? They never left?
No, there was information on the early part of the investigation. As we started to develop information, there was one particular focus area that we went. There were a couple, but there was one particular focus area that we went to, and it was one of those follow-ups, focus areas that led us to the house in Redlands, that led to the ultimate pursuit that led to the officer-involved shooting.
It appeared they lived there. It was at their house.
The address was connected to the follow-up that we had. I don't know who the suspects are, nor do I know if that is where they lived.
Chief, do you believe that the police killed the 2 people in the SUV?
They were carrying assault-style weapons. I don't know the specific caliber or make or model of the gun.
Chief, the arrest at
Hang on, real quick.
People in the SUV?
There were 2 people in the SUV. Both of them are deceased.
The police killed them both.
One male, one female. While they were engaged in the gun battle with police officers, and we had several officers that shot at them and into the vehicle. I don't know what bullets caused their death.
You have a 3rd person in custody, but you're not sure they're involved.
We have a 3rd person that was seen leaving the area. He is detained. We do not know the extent of his involvement, if any. It's possible that he was not.
Arrested at Aurora and Colson?
The person was detained very close to where the officer involved shooting. We don't have an Aurora. I don't know.
There was an arrest on Colson Street.
There was somebody detained.
Have they been identified?
We have not identified them yet.
Chief, did that person have weapons on him? That 3rd suspect that's detained? Any weapons located on that person?
I don't have that information.
Were there any words exchanged during this gunfire that you can speak of between the suspects and the police?
I don't know.
Chief, what's their nationality?
Don't know. Okay, we're going to try to do another press conference sometime around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Hopefully we'll have more information for you at that time. Thank you.
Again, you were just listening to the police chief there in San Bernardino County. He's told us that 2 suspects are dead, a 1 man, 1 woman. A 3rd person is in custody. Not sure if it's related, however, that person is to the suspects or the shooting today in San Bernardino. But that person is in custody. They'll be finding out more information there. And the sweep of that whole regional facility is not over yet.
Right. We continue with coverage. 14 people killed, 17 people hurt in San Bernardino. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more after this.
Now, your First Alert weather forecast with Miles Museum.
It was a pleasant day.
All right, Miles. Thank you.
All right, sports is coming your way next.
Now, Eyewitness News Sports with Craig Kerr.
And starting with a little stats report on one of the players with one of the
Winless Sixers, of course, hitting the Lakers a 12-point loss, 103-91. Bryant giving quite the reception, however, from his hometown crowd, as he should. And he's had a great career.
And he helped them win.
It's just been a staggering finish to his career. That's the hard part to watch.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
That does it for Eyewitness News at 5. Eyewitness News at 6 starts right now.